This is Radar for On the Radar at our tape blog, coming with another edition of Movie Reviews and Observation, episode 18. As I stated before, pandemic shut down the library, no warning, unable to get from the library near me, went to the library elsewhere to get stuff, ran out of that. Went through the 2 free streaming sites the library offered, ran out of that from my list. Then used a website that I wouldn't want to say and Netflix to finish that list. And then a library eventually opened back up for picking up items, and I finished that list. I made a new one. Problem is, they're more close to coming out this calendar year, so the library doesn't either own all of them, so I couldn't request them from other libraries, or they were checked out. So the first movie I watched was a horror film, but it's more of like an adventure type of film called Mary, with Gary Oldman playing like the guy who's the captain of his own ship, and it's a cursed ship that takes his passenger, the kids, kills them, and the wife is against them buying it, but then eventually they do buy it. They go out to sea, makes people crazy, blah, blah, blah. You could tell that pretty much nobody was going to survive, or some people were going to survive. But of course, it was just a lot of talking. Don't, why are we on this mission? Why are we doing this? Blah, blah, blah. She retelling the story and nobody believing her. Blah, blah. It was just not that great of a movie. And the only positive thing about the movie was an hour and 27 minutes, so you didn't waste your time watching that much of a movie. The next movie I watched was a Part 2 Lou. Now, I will say this. Aaron Paul, I've seen him in plenty of movies not that aren't Need for Speed or the franchise The Breaking Bad, which has a movie too. But in the movie The Part 2 Lou, there were actors that you've seen before, like Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Scott McNeary, blah, blah, blah. So you've seen them before, but it's basically a deaf kid. His father is abusive, is barely there all the time. He doesn't really get along with his father. He hides out, meets this guy who's on the loose, and that's Aaron Paul, and the two of them become friends. He gets him food, helps him out. He wants to go run away with him, but of course, it's not a good idea to run away with him because he's a bad man. He's going to get caught. He teaches him how to stick up to bullies and his father. So it's a nice, touching story, but it was not that great of a movie. The only positive thing going for it was an hour and a half. An hour and a half, so it was 97 minutes. Aaron Paul was, as usual, pretty good self in the movie. It's just not a good movie. There was just missing pieces, and it was just not that well written. Cliche of bad father, him looking at Aaron Paul as a father, even though he's a bad person. So yeah, the Part 2 Lose, not watching that. Then I watched another movie from the site called Lucky Day. And the confusing thing about this movie was a bad guy in the movie comes to the immigration, like the United States. And they're like, why you come here to visit? So I think it's United States. Then I'm thinking maybe it's in California. Then people are speaking French. Like the wife in the movie speaking French, her daughter, even the nanny who's Hispanic is doing it. People around town are, the bad guy is. So I'm like, oh. So then it has to be in Canada because everybody is speaking, a lot of people are preaching French, and in Canada they speak French. Now, obviously, there are people in the movie that you've heard of, like Luke Bracey is the main character, and Nina Dobrev is his wife, and David Hewlett from Stargate franchise, he plays a character in here, and Clifton Collins Jr. plays a character, but it's weird. He's Canadian, but his last name is Sanchez, so that's kind of weird. But yeah, so the movie was weird. It was just like somebody had a fever dream or they're drugs or something, because the movie makes no sense. Guy gets out of prison. He supposedly was a bad person. They stole money. The guy trying to kill him, his brother died and thinks it's his fault. But he's like a killer, so he's killing people. He's a misogynist. He's sexist. He's homophobic. Racist. He's all that stuff in the movie. This character, and they waste time with him interacting with other characters. No offense to Nina Dobrev, who I just saw on the show Fam. She was playing a French woman. Like, she was originally from France, but she lived in Canada. I wasn't buying her accent. I also wasn't buying the fact that the main character was, I don't know, American or something, but he was speaking like with either British accent or Australian accent, so I guess some Australian bad guy meets a French woman. They live together, things like that. As I said, the guy named Santos, but he's Canadian. It's weird. So the movie was just all over the place. And basically, he's got this money stowed away. When he comes out, he has a locksmith company because he's good at locks and things like that. And his wife's an artist, and his wife has been working on this prison stuff. And Nina Dobrev, who's playing his wife, has somebody sponsoring her, is in charge of the art gallery, and it's played by David Hewlett. And I was like, oh, cool, somebody from Stargate. But he plays an asshole, a jerk. He's trying to sleep with her because he has feelings for her and said, if you don't sleep with me, I'll make you pay a lot of money. He's a fake drawn-on mustache. And again, him trying to do a French accent, horrible, because we know that he's not French. So, horrible French accents, confusing other actors in the movie and what's going on. Yeah, all over the place, just not a good movie. It was an okay, action, bad guy, stop the bad guy, cracking safes and stuff, and people you've heard of, but yeah, don't waste your time. Then the next movie I watched was an inspirational movie about a guy named Brian Banks, who was going to go to USC, and when he was going to go to USC, he was going to then go to college and be a professional athlete playing football because he was a great defensive player, and nope, some girl accused him of rape. There was no proof to it, blah, 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 blah. He eventually goes to prison, and his lawyer tells him to do a no contest. Doesn't mean he's, not guilty or guilty, but he still then goes to jail for all these years, and he gets out, and his life's not the same because he has to register a sex offender. He's got a warrant officer, and he's got to have an ankle monitor. All these things, because he couldn't play community college. He can't be near a school or a park, and it's ruining his life because he can't move on. He wants to play football. He wants to, be able to do things in his life. So stuff like that. His whole life is ruined, and he has to go through the Innocence Project, and they're working together to do it. So it was a very good movie, and I haven't seen Sherry Shepherd in a movie in a while. She was just on, The Masked Singer. That was the thing I saw her for. And Aldous Hodge did a great job of playing Brian Banks, and Greg Kinnear did a good job of playing the dude who works for the Innocence Project. So it was a pretty good movie. Inspirational, a little bit sad, and you know what happens because it's based on a true story. Plus, being an hour and a half, not that bad. 97 minutes is not, a bad length for a movie. So that was probably the best movie I watched this week because it was inspirational. There was a positive message. The good guy come out on top. It was a sports-related movie. Good acting in the movie. And also, I like the guy who played his parole officer, Dorian Missick, who I kind of liked his role on a TV show For Life on ABC, so it's cool to see him in this movie. But yeah, the acting in the movie, based off a true story. Good guy comes out on top. Inspirational. Brings tears to your eyes. Great movie. The next movie I watched was The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. I'm like, oh, cool. A Adam Driver movie, and Jonathan Pryce is considered a really good actor. That's really cool. And there's a Skarsgård in there. But it's he filmed this movie in Spanish country, picked locals to be in the movie, but now he's a big-time person, and they're filming a commercial or a movie or TV show. I have no idea. His boss, his wife wants to sleep with him. There are other people that want to sleep with him, and he decides while he's filming that he wants to go look for some of the people from the movie because he was not that close. He was close by. Somebody had a copy of his movie, which was weird. Then he gets stuck in the middle of nowhere with the guy who thinks he's Don Quixote, but he's a village person, and just gets dragged all over the place. In fact, there's 2 hours and 19 minutes. I'm just like, yo, man, this movie could have been a lot shorter. It was just all over the place. Then the girl who he met years ago was involved with some Russian guy and filmmaking, blah, 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 blah. It was just stupid all over the place and just not worth your time. If you're going to spend 2 hours plus in a movie, it's got to be good. It got your attention, but it was a lot of this stuff could have been cut out. Outside of Adam Driver and Jonathan Pryce's, acting in this movie, I would just be like, don't waste your time sitting through this long movie. The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. So don't watch Don Quixote unless you want to sit through this weird movie. Don't watch Lucky Day because it's stupid and doesn't make any sense. Bad accent. Parchaluz just wasn't a great movie. Wasn't written that well. And Mary was just a horribly done horror movie about a ship. Not great acting. But the best movie to watch is the Brian Banks movie based on an inspirational true story. Wrongfully convicted man who gets what he deserved by actually getting to go to the NFL and play for the Atlanta Falcons and not have to live his life as a sex offender and all that other stuff. So, good movie, Brian Banks. The rest, don't watch. Thank you for listening to another edition of Movie and Reviews and Observation, episode number 18 for On the Radar Entertainment blog. I'm Radar. See you guys next time.